What's the hubbub? Man of Tomorrow has had a lot of press recently, and it looks quite positive. We have found out James Gunn is tackling some of the criticism of Superman through this next sequel installment, led by villain Brainiac. We will dig into that later in video, so you don't want to miss that. The Snyder Bros, who are still hoping for a Zack Snyder takeover of DC movies, are in shambles. Why? Well, it's over the Lex Warsuit, and they are looking for an angle to hate on it. The design looks great, though, and is a practical suit, which I'm sure will have some CGI enhancements. Let's look at the history and comics inspiration for this. The Lex Luthor Warsuit is one of the most famous pieces of technology in DC Comics. It exists because Lex is a normal human, albeit a genius, but wants to fight Superman on equal terms. The suit gives him the strength, durability, and firepower needed to challenge a Kryptonian. The Lex Luthor Warsuit was first introduced in 1983 in Action Comics number 544. Prior to this, Lex Luthor was usually portrayed as a mad scientist or criminal genius who relied on inventions and schemes rather than powered armor. The Warsuit was created to give Lex a believable way to physically challenge Superman. In the story, Lex used highly advanced technology from the planet Lexor to build a suit that granted him superhuman strength, flight, protective force fields, and powerful energy weapons. The armor's distinctive green and purple design quickly became one of Lex's most recognizable looks. The invention of the Warsuit reflected a shift in comic storytelling during the early 1980s. Writers wanted Lex to be more than a mastermind hiding behind henchmen. They wanted him to confront Superman directly. The suit embodied Lex's belief that human intelligence and technology could rival even the powers of a Kryptonian. Over the decades, the Warsuit has been redesigned many times, incorporating alien technology, kryptonite weapons, and increasingly sophisticated systems, but its central purpose has remained the same, allowing Lex Luthor, an ordinary human genius, to stand toe-to-toe with Superman through the power of science and engineering. It looks exactly as it should, but if you see a Buzz Lightyear joke, the Snyder Bros aren't too bright. They just copy and paste the same insults, void of comics knowledge. If Zack Snyder didn't do a live-action depiction of it, they don't know what to do, which, by the way, his Jesse Eisenberg Lex was terrible, and his Warsuit plan didn't look great. In Batman vs. Superman, we saw an attempt at a birthright Lex who acted more like the Riddler. It was bad, and the Snyder groupies defend it. Let's also take a look at recent set pictures for Man of Tomorrow. It also gives some clues about what's going down. It looks like Superman, at least in this battle, heads up against Lex, is coming out on top. In Superman, a criticism was that Superman was constantly beat up and losing battles, which I don't think was very fair, as he was taking in multiple villains at high strength levels. I mean, Ultraman was a clone that Lex controlled and studied Superman's moves to try and beat him in a fight, plus you had the team up with the Engineer. At one point, it was basically a 3-on-1 fight, Superman versus Ultraman, the mind of Lex, and the Engineer. Let's talk about the Superman suit as well. It is similar to the 2025 suit, but with some notable improvements. This isn't cope either. James Gunn has confirmed it's a different suit. What I'm seeing is David went a bit more lean, but more muscular, and the suit is a tighter fit. The emblem may be a touch larger as well, and the belt seems to have a shine to it. Outside of the suit, can we comment on the best live-action Superman hair to date? The cape is flapping, as Tyrone Magnus likes to say, and has a regal quality as it did before. I'm glad they kept the emblem on the cape. Man of Tomorrow will be filming in Macon, Georgia, for the Daily Planet scenes next month as well. Supergirl is still getting more forced hate, but that's just noise from the usual Snyder Rider Brigade. The fact is, they don't talk about it being good or bad, they just try to hype up fake box office numbers. I started covering the movie pretty much after announced, and I've always stated, based on the challenges of rebuilding the DC cinematic world, Thunderbolt's numbers should be the goal. She is somewhere in that popularity level. I've been saying I hope the opening weekend can hit around 45 to 55 million. If it can stretch into high 300 millions range, that will move past the break-even estimates I have. It's more of a bridge film to help rehabilitate the brand through word of mouth. I've consistently said this, so Snyder Queens, it's not a new cope, You just need to catch up on old hubbub videos and learn a thing or two, huh? Historically, we've not seen a Supergirl movie do well to demand such Snyder cope expectations. The 1984 Supergirl film, starring Helen Slater, struggled at the box office against a production budget of roughly $35 million. We also saw her as a character in the DCEU Flash movie, which was underway before James Gunn launched his new DCU. Sasha Cady made her feature film debut as Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl, in the 2023 DC film The Flash. She made history as the first Latina actress to portray the iconic Kryptonian superhero. Because the movie grossed only about $271 million at the worldwide box office, it became one of the largest financial flops in Hollywood history. It had an estimated production budget between $200 million and $300 million, with industry analysts and trades often pointing closer to the $300 million mark due to extensive reshoots and delays. Warner Bros. Also spent roughly $150 million on global marketing. It's still amazing to me as a side note how they fake support and love Masters of the Universe, which looks tonally almost identical, but then dump on the Guardians of the Galaxy comparison. A galactic space adventure with superpowers describes both movies. How do you prop up one over the other, you clowns? The whole goal of this anti-Gunn, anti-DCU Snyder Bros regime is to somehow replace and restore Gunn with Zack Snyder, who was fired previously because his DCEU established verse failed and teetered out of fan favor. The last 10 years of his established verse, after like 15 films, the average gross per movie was in the 400 millions range. In the last 5 years, it wasn't even in 300 millions range. We are talking about the DCU having one movie released, which blew away those averages, with Superman doing over 600 million. Suddenly, Supergirl as a bridge movie for Man of Tomorrow to pay off on is to be called a flop for meeting expectations if it can get near 400 million? You guys know that is ridiculous to pretend she needs Spider-Man or Avengers numbers. We can't take your logic seriously when it is so bloody absent. What's the likelihood of your plan to fake and abuse misinformation for bringing back Zack? He is trying to get a remake of Escape from New York made. The singular filmmaker behind 300 and Zack Snyder's Justice League has come aboard to write and direct a reimagining of Escape from New York, the classic dystopian action movie from John Carpenter that introduced audiences to the cool, eye-patch-wearing, cobra-tatted anti-hero, sources tell The Hollywood Reporter. The feature project is being put together and will be taken out to market in the coming weeks and marks the first concrete steps of getting an Escape from New York movie up and going in years. And the intent is to release the feature theatrically, according to sources. He is also getting the Brawler release buttoned up. Supposedly, he is trying to develop extensions to Rebel Moon, plus an untitled LAPD project. The last photograph is in post-production. The restore SnyderVerse hope never looked so far away. By the time he'd finish his current projects and then DCU finishing their releases, while having likely renewals pushing further out dates, you guys would have to dream of 5 years minimum for all that to wrap up. Coordinate new contracts for the old SnyderVerse actors. Zack has nothing in contract for DC movies now, as it's literally the Gunn show at DC Studios. Add 3 years for story and shooting a movie such as Justice League 2 you wish for. I see weirdos pretending the SnyderVerse is already back, and it's far from even in a shooting distance. Honestly, Henry Cavill is in another stage now too. He is in his 40s as a first-time dad starting a family. There have been pictures of him looking understandably tired, and the Snyder bro copium is so extreme they are pretending bad pictures are AI. No, he's just getting older and has some good days and rough days. It's okay. You guys only seem to support him online anyways. When do you show up to his movies? Look at his flop list after playing Superman. Most recently in The Grey, just like his hair, has been a massive flop. It even had some other stars and notable Guy Ritchie at the helm directing. It flopped hard. You don't support him to show there is demand, which hurts your Restore the Snyderverse effort, which, by the way, the Pedro guy looking like a Temu pitbull that hops into every Snyder or Gunn-related YouTube video to say Snyder is winning and can't be stopped. You and people like you are cringe trolling yourselves at this point. There are no Zack Snyder DC movies in the works, no release dates, you don't support his non-DC stuff either, and is looking pretty washed up to be blunt. You don't have to worry about being stopped, Pedro the Pitbull, cause you Snyder bros haven't started. Nothing has changed or happened, and the hope looks further away than ever. We are eating as DCU fans with daily news lately, new pics as Man of Tomorrow is filming. A new Supergirl trailer hit as well. More Lanterns has been teased recently. There will only be more announcements as well. Face it, you lost before you began. Snyder was let go and not taken back. You Snyder bro channels want to cover DCU news because you have no DCEU Snyder news. You want to spread misinformation and go unchecked in hopes you can spread the delusion. Well, I checked you and will continue to do so because no SnyderVerse, no problem, folks. With that, it's today's hubbub. If you enjoy DCU versus DCEU debate talk and agree or disagree and want to get notified of latest videos uploads, please subscribe and tap the notification bell. Until next time, take care of yourselves and others.